Welcome to Illustration and Media Digital Applications. This is Module 3, Unit 3.5, Section Plane, Dimensions, and Text. Today, we will be creating a section plane of plans and elevations. We'll be learning how to create a section plane animation. We'll be dimensioning our drawings, and finally, we will be adding relevant text to our drawings. I'm Sherry McKinley. Let's get started.
This video is called Cutting Plans and Sections, and it's the 6th video in Chapter 10 of Google SketchUp for Dummies. Okay, a section in SketchUp is kind of an interesting thing. There's nothing that really exists like a section in real life, but sections are incredibly important tools for you to be able to get inside, basically look inside or cut away part of the thing that you're actually building. And people use sections both to work on the inside of things, and they use sections to show the inside of things or hide parts of things from their audience when they're presenting. So without further ado, let's talk about sections. Okay, to create a section, all I have to do is go to the Tool menu and choose Section Plane right there. Okay, when I choose Section Plane, I get this big funny cursor. You notice how it's this giant green rectangle. Actually, I guess it's kind of a square. It's actually going to change shape depending on when you have it. Right now that it's kind of loose, it's a square, but you'll see that it kind of turns into a big rectangle after I place it. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm just dragging this green rectangle thing around the model, and it's kind of snapping to different planes. Notice how when it's on this slanted roof, it's actually slanted itself. Down here it's also slanted. Over here on this wall it's kind of facing off to the left. On this wall it's sort of facing off to the right. And if I kind of put it on this, hover over this round chimney thing, you see how it's kind of spinning? Because it's always facing the surface that you have it hovering on. Okay, ready? This is going to be quick. I'm going to cut a section on this side of my house. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to click. And what I've done is I've created this big giant section plane. See how it's a big kind of orange rectangle like I said it would be? And the end of my building's gone, just like that. And I can see that end of the building, but this building's gone. What I've got to do, or I should say this end of the building's gone, I'm going to grab the Move tool at this point, because what I want to do is move this section plane. Let's just move this section plane. I'm going to click on it and then just move it. And you notice what's happening? You see how part of my model is being cut into with that section plane right there? Now, the important thing to realize is it's not actually disappearing. If I move this out of the way, I've still got the house there. But if let's zoom in some, just like this. As I move the section plane back and forth, I'm actually cutting through the house as I move through here. Okay, it's a pretty important concept to understand. Let's get it to a good spot. That's kind of a good spot, sort of through a doorway. There we go. And there's my section plane. What I've done is I've actually placed that section plane. This is kind of an object in SketchUp. It's kind of a strange thing. It's an entity, sort of like a guide or an edge or a face is, but it's I guess what I would call a construction entity. It doesn't really show up if you it's not part of your model. It's kind of a thing that you place in your model to help you model and show off your model, if that makes any sense. Okay, once we've got that section plane on there, it's kind of ugly, so what I want to do is kind of hide that section plane. What I'll do is go up to the View menu and deselect this section planes thing there. So what I don't want to be able to see is the section plane that I just created. What I do want to be able to see is what's called the section cut, which is the cut that the section plane created. I hope that makes sense. If I go up to the View menu and deselect Section Cuts, the cut actually goes away. And then if I go to View and say Section Planes, now I can see the section plane, but not actually the cut that it's producing. So in using those two things in combination, you can choose to watch the planes or the cuts, or no planes and cuts, or no cuts and planes. It's kind of up to you. Okay? But the general premise is that section plane, once I've changed or placed it, It's actually creating this section cut effect right there on my model. Let's get another section plane. I'm going to go up to Tools, go to Section Plane, and this one I'm going to cut this way. Okay, and I'm going to use the Move tool to move it over some. Let's move it. I'm cutting through the building this way now. What I want to actually do is cut through the stairs. So there we go. Okay, now you'll notice what I have in my model is two section planes. I've got this one that's kind of gray and this one that's orange. And you'll notice that the gray one is no longer cutting anything. You see how it's kind of not cutting through the house? It's just sort of placed there. Now if I go up to View and say hide my section planes, they both disappear, but the active section cut is the one from the section plane that was orange, if you notice that. Okay. You can only, in general, have one active section plane at a time in a SketchUp model. There is an exception to that, but I'm not going to go into it. What I'm going to do is right-click. Let's say I wanted this section plane, the one that's gray right now, that was cutting through the house this way. Let's say I wanted that to be my active section cut instead. I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to choose Active Cut from the right-click menu. And when I do that, it changes, and all of a sudden that section plane is orange and the other one is gray. Let's swap back. I'm going to say Active Cut, and so my cut is changing depending on which section plane is selected. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this section plane, the first one that we created, I'm sorry, the second one altogether. So let's just delete that, and we're working with one section plane again. Now, let's say I wanted to keep this section plane, but what I want to see is the other half of the house, the part of the house that's kind of being cut away by that right now. I don't have to create a brand new section plane. I'm just going to right-click on the existing one and go Reverse. And when I do that, it reverses the direction of the section cut, and now I'm looking at the other half of the house, the stuff that I had cut away with it the first time. So let's go to Reverse, and now I'm looking at that half. And it's kind of that simple. Let's get rid of that section cut, and I'm going to create another kind of section cut. This is called a plan cut. So let's go to Tools. It's made in exactly the same way. I'm going to pick Section Plane, but instead of hovering anywhere on the model, I'm just going to hover on the ground so that that section cut is going to be completely flat, just like that. And then I'm going to get my Move tool to move this up, just like that. I'm going to move it up 48 inches, which is 4 feet. It's kind of an architectural convention in North America to cut plans at 4 feet. Let's go up to View and Section Planes and deselect that. And now what I'm able to do is kind of see inside my house. And this is great because this is the view I would use to start throwing in furniture and stuff like that. So I'm going to use that section plane that I just created. This section cut allows me to see this floor really easily, so I can kind of throw stuff in it. If I wanted to work on, let's say, the second floor, I would show that section plane again. I grab the Move tool and just kind of move this up to the second floor like that. And maybe hide the section plane again. And now I can work on the second floor if I wanted to. I could put some furniture in here. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Let's see if there's anything else that I forgot to cover in this section. Nope. I believe that is exactly what I wanted to talk about. Okay. That concludes the video on adding section planes to your model for Chapter 10 of Google SketchUp for Dummies. This video is called Creating Section Animations with Scenes, and it's basically about two of SketchUp's coolest features, sections and scenes. Obviously, creating section animations with scenes is about that. Okay, so the basic premise is you can actually create animations with section planes, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do right now. Okay, what we've got is a basic little model. There's no scene setup. You can see that there's no scene tabs here at the top of my model window. I've got this model. What I'm going to do is open up my scenes dialog box. It'll kind of live right here for now. And I'm going to go up and get a section plane. Let's go to Tools, Section Plane. I'm going to start by making a plan section. There we go. It's right on the ground. And let's kind of just drag this up until I like it. Something like that. Okay. And I can kind of change my view here so I can see things a little better. There we go. Okay. Once I like that view, I'm going to hit Add Scene right there. And it's going to create a scene tab just like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new section plane. Now this is the key. Too many people move the section plane at this point, and then none of this works. So I'm going to do it right the first time, and then I'm going to do it wrong, and then I'm going to do it right again, and you'll see, hopefully, how to do this, because it took me 2 years to figure this out. So I'm trying to save you a couple of years. Okay, so what I've done is I've created a section plane, I've created a scene. Now I'm going to go up and create a new section plane. Let's move that into position, just like that. And I'm going to create a new scene. There we go. So now I've got 2 scenes. I don't like being able to see these section planes here, so I'm going to go up to the View menu and just hide those section planes. But watch what happens when I click between the scene tabs. The section plane is actually animating, just like that. Okay? Now, let's get rid of those scenes for now. And I'm going to show you how a lot of people end up trying to do this. I'm going to turn on my section planes again. Let's hide this one right there. Now, this is how a lot of people try and do it. They've got one scene, right? They've got a scene and they've got a... Actually, let's delete that and kind of start from scratch, and I think you'll get a picture of what's going on. Okay, so I've got a section plane. It's cutting through the building. I've got no scenes. I'm going to say create a scene here. Let's, I don't know, save as new style this time. Create the scene. Cool. And then this is what people try and do. They take the move tool and they move that section plane and say, okay, then I want a section up here on the second floor, and they create a new scene. And then they click between the scene tabs. So let's hide those section planes. They click between the scene tabs, and look, all that's happening is the model's moving because I moved the model. I orbited a little bit between creating those scenes. But notice how the section plane isn't moving. And the reason for that is pretty simple, but not obvious. The reason is you only have one section plane in this model right now. So it's not moving between active section planes. It's only doing one plane. So let's try and fix that. Let's delete that. We're going to delete that. Okay, so what we want to do is start with, let's say, a section of the second floor, just like this. I'm going to create a scene. Let's update the selected style. There we go. Okay, so I created a scene. And then what I've got to do, if I want to make an animation that shows the second floor being cut until the first floor is being cut, I've got to create a whole second section plane. So let's create a new section plane. We'll dump that on the first floor, just like this. And then I'm going to create a new scene. Now watch what happens. If I go to View, turn off section planes, and I click on the scenes, you'll see that it's going to transition between the 2 section planes. Now if I turn on those section planes, you'll see what's actually happening. It's transitioning between active section planes. So hopefully that's pretty clear. The big thing that I want you to take away from this is if you want to have 2 scenes and have an animation of a section plane between those 2 scenes, you need to have 2 section planes. It's not going to work if you only move the one section plane to a new place for the second scene. Okay. I hope that's awfully clear, because that's the end of this video for Chapter 10 of Google SketchUp for Dummies.
So the first thing we're going to do is go to the Get Models location, and we're going to type in the word living room. We're going to download a living room to practice the section plane command. I'd like us to choose the one that's called living room with dining. Clicking on it here, double click on that, and then choose download model and yes to load directly into our SketchUp model. Once that's in place, we're going to start the section plane command, and you'll find this located under the Tools menu. Now don't worry about the fact that this is a component and you see all the blue lines around it. You can simply use your Select tool to click outside into the green space to have that so it's not showing as blue anymore. So let's go to the Tools menu now. And choose Section Plane. The first kind of section cut that we're going to do is one that will look like it's a top view or a plan view. And you'll notice when the arrows are pointing down, that's what's going to give us a section cut that sections out top areas of our drawing to produce a cut plan view. Now we're going to go ahead and click on the floor here. As long as the arrows are pointing down, this command will work. When we do that, you're going to notice that it seems as though your drawing is about to disappear. So let's go ahead and click. And don't worry, because we can actually move this section plane now to cut away and visualize or see other parts of our drawing. So go to the Select tool, the black arrow, top left of your screen, and pick on the line of the section plane, and you'll know it's selected when it turns blue. Now what we want to do is go to our Move command. Choose Move. Click once on the section plane and hover up until you find that you like the location where the cut is going to be located. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and click. Now we can orbit or pan to see our drawing with certain sections that have been cut out. And in this drawing, the ceiling was cut away so that we can see into the space in more of a plan view. Now it's important to note that SketchUp has standard views. So go to the camera menu now and go to standard views and select top. This is an amazing way to get a perfect top view, or later we'll be using this to create more of an elevation view, and you can see it there. I can actually, later we'll be learning how to export this out to have a top view of my drawing. Now, one thing that I don't love is I don't love seeing the section plane border around the perimeter of my plan. So we're actually able to toggle that off or turn that off so that we don't see that sort of grayed out view. You're going to go to the View menu for this and choose on the word that says section plane. Notice how it's selected. When we choose that, it will sort of deselect, that arrow will go away, and it will turn the section plane off, but we'll still be able to see the drawing with the cut still there. Let's turn that back on again. And we're going to choose on the Select tool, and we're going to go to the Edit menu now and delete that section plane. So we can always create a section cut or a section plane. We can view it, and then we can delete it later. This time we're going to try the same command again under Tools, Section Plane, but we're going to try more of an elevation view here. So let's select on that back wall. As long as the arrows are pointing in that direction, we'll be good to go. Go back to your Select tool, pick on the perimeter or one of the lines of the section plane, and then let's go ahead and move that section plane again until we like the view. Now we can cut it anywhere. I think I just want to do just the back wall. So let's go ahead and click there. This time let's go to the camera menu, standard views, and choose front. And we can see that we have more of a front-on view of the space. And let's zoom a window around it just a little closer to our work. And we're going to end up turning off the section plane under the View menu again. And there you have it, a front view of that side of the room. Okay, we're going to be learning how to do dimensions now, and the first thing that we really need to do in order to create dimensions is to be aware of something called layers in SketchUp. So we went to the Window menu and selected Layers. Now you'll notice that there are several layers there already, and we're going to make a new one by clicking on the plus symbol and calling it Dimensions, and another new layer by clicking on the plus symbol again and calling that layer Text. Now what Layers does in SketchUp is it enables us to draw things that we can then later turn on and off. Now we're going to go to the View menu, and we need to make sure that we have our large toolbar selected. You probably still do from the last tutorial. And we're going to begin by drawing some dimensions. Now you'll notice that I did make the dimension layer current by putting the dot in the circle there, and it is on. Now we're going to click on where we see the dimension symbol with the 3 in it, click on one corner of the space, click on the second corner of the space, and hover and click to finish that dimension. Try that a few times. Click on the dimension icon, click one corner, click a second corner, and hover and click to place it. Now the one thing about dimensions is it's not really architecturally standard. You can see that it has arrows on either side rather than an architectural tick. So go to the window menu and choose Model Info and click on Dimensions. Now there's a few changes we need to make here. I'm going to be changing my font to have a darker color, and you can make the font any style really that you like here. And so I'm just changing mine. Next, we need to make sure that instead of closed arrow, it says slash. We're going to align this to dimension line and put it above our dimension line, and then select all dimensions and update selected dimensions. And this will clean up the ones that we've already drawn. Now, if I want to go back into the window menu, choose layers again, I can deselect my dimension layer, and you can see that that will turn those dimensions off. We need to make sure that we make another layer current with the dot in it in order to be able to do that, because we don't always want our dimensions on. That we're going to learn how to do is to add notes to our drawing, and you can see that I've added a few notes already. And again, just a reminder that we want to make sure that we do have our large tool set on, and again you'll find that under the view menu and toolbars, and you will choose the large tool set and make sure that that's on. Now the icon or the symbol for adding notes is right here. I'm circling it. It has an A1 in a little white box and an arrow. So it attaches itself with a little leader line or an arrow. Very simple to do. You simply click on that shortcut, pick somewhere that you want to point to. So when I'm ready, I'm just going to click and hover anywhere I like, and click again, and at that point it enables me to retype the words. So I'm going to type I don't know, that this is a, let's say, custom finish on feature wall. And when I'm done typing, 2 enters, enter and enter to get out of that, and there it is. And I'm going to do that one more time. This time I'm going to let it say whatever it says. So I'm going to point to this table here, and I'm going to drag this over here. And in order to let it say the words that it defaults to, we simply have to double click, and it places it there for us, and we're good to go. Now, what happens is I don't always want to have my text or my dimensions on, as I mentioned before, but I wasn't being careful about what layer I drew those in. So I'm going to select all the text that I've added, holding down the Shift key to multi-select all of the items. And then we're going to go to the window menu, and this time we're going to go to Entity Info. And Entity Info is like the information about the objects that I've selected. So I'm going to choose that, and that's going to tell me what layer those items are in, the type of font, the size, etc. So I'm going to change all of those to go into the text layer, like so, and exit out of there. So that later, if I want to go back into my window menu and go to layers, I can turn off dimensions. Oops, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. Was making something current. Turn off dimensions and turn off the text. Okay, turn those back on for a sec. The nice thing about the text is that when I orbit, it follows me. It keeps that font on the horizontal, and you'll see that it stays there.